On this week's show, how to set up a buy-to-let property business.
Is it possible to buy a house with no money in under a week?
In the news, MPs say the home leasehold system needs reform.
And we'll be answering all your property related questions in the question and answer session.
Welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an upload. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube. Enjoy this week's show and don't forget to share it with all your friends. Hi, I'm Russell Leeds.
I'm Alistair Cunningham.
And welcome to the Property Investors Podcast in our new home here on Samuel Leeds' channel.
Oh, we're on Saturdays now, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So tell us, I know you can't tell us much, but tell us about your week.
Oh, okay. So, literally just got back from America.
Yeah.
With Samuel. It was interesting. That's all I'll say. It was interesting. It was fun. It was tiring. It was hard work. What I will say for people that don't get this, Samuel is a freaking driven workaholic, crazy madman. He just doesn't stop. And I mean, I don't stop either, but it was.
But he stops even less than you.
Yeah, he's just crazy. He's just on it all the time, which is brilliant.
Yeah. Surely you knew that anyway, though.
Well, I did know that sort of, but it's just to make it put it out
to live
there.
with him for a week.
Yeah, to basically live with him for a week in the same hotel room, because we shared hotel rooms and everything.
Could you live with him?
No.
Could you be his flatmate?
No.
Why?
I'll tell you, just because.
Because why?
I'm not going to go into that on this.
This sounds a little
No, because I ain't going to lie, he's a messy bugger.
Is he messy?
Yes. Like, he'll, oh yeah, it's what it is.
But, okay, so in the news, Alistair could never live with Samuel.
No, he's, do you know what? It was phenomenal. The week was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. But it was hardcore, like constantly. 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning until early hours, every day. Every single day.
Yeah.
Poor Sergi was like, are we gonna have lunch? Are we gonna have a break? And I'm like, yeah, later. It was funny. So what have you been up to?
Well, what I've been up to, I've just been working a lot. Yeah. It's just we've got a lot of new members of staff recently.
Yes, absolutely. Every time I come back to the office for the day, there seems to be more people in there.
Yeah. And
more desks, and the desks are getting smaller to cram them in. Poor Nick's gone from a big desk to a small desk.
He's actually got 2 desks now.
Yeah, it's because they're both small.
Well,
they're the sort of desks that my 14-year-old, my 12-year-old daughter's got in her bedroom for a PC.
Yeah. It's good. It's good desk. No, it's been. I love it though. I love it. So it's been really good.
Yeah, I must admit, the office vibe has been really good recently.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it.
It's amazing. It's awesome. Right. So on this week's show, we're going to be first of all, we're going to be looking at how to set up a buy-to-let property business. So for someone that's wanting to get started in property, what steps they need to. We mentioned this a few times, but it's important that you treat property investing as a business.
100%.
It's not a hobby; it's a business. And if you've got the business mindset and you see it as a business, you know what?
I've said this many times. If you treat anything like a hobby, you'll get hobby results. Whereas if you treat it like a business, you get business results. I think if you're going to do it, you've got to take it seriously and you've got to set it up correctly from the beginning. There's no point doing it half-hearted because you will only get half-hearted results.
Yeah. So let's go through the steps then, because it's something that you've done recently.
Yeah.
So what would you say, setting up a buy-to-let business, what would you say is the first thing? I suppose the first thing you need to know is how are you going to buy properties in your own name? You're going to buy them through a limited company. So
the first thing I would do before doing anything is I would go and seek advice from your accountant. I wouldn't do anything without speaking to an accountant first.
What about if you don't have an accountant?
Then find one. They're everywhere. Google accountants, particularly property accountants. If you can find an accountant that's very good on property.
I would say maybe network.
Yep.
So go to some property
100%.
investors network, and you got like PIN, which is very good. Yeah. Your pick.
Yeah.
There's one coming up, isn't there? A pick.
There's the next one's in May because of the eviction.
Okay. But yeah, so I would say
that's because I'm getting evicted from my
from his house.
Yeah. No,
he can't pay his bills.
No. So network's a very good way because I mean at the pick we have an accountant there every month. He's actually a delegate. He's not there for me, but he just comes to watch and to participate. But he's an accountant.
But well, the good thing is then if you've got an accountant that understands property, and get rather than just a bog basic boring accountant. I always find it difficult working out whether or not an accountant's good because I obviously don't know very much about accounts.
Yeah. Compared
to any accountant.
Yeah, of course.
So how do you gauge whether they're good or not? Because they're going to be better than me.
I'll tell you
however
what.
Bad they are.
I'll tell you what. I've always had fairly good accountants. Now, an accountant is worth their weight in gold.
Yeah.
If you can get a good accountant, doesn't matter how much he's going to charge you, because whatever he charges you, he'll save you as much in tax. So a lot of people will. I see this a lot. People on the property investors with Samuel Leeds Facebook group. Everyone's like, "Oh, does anyone know a cheap accountant?" I wouldn't want a cheap accountant.
No.
If my accountant said, "I'm going to charge you freaking £200 a month or $2-3 grand a year, whatever," I don't know. I would happily pay it. If you don't want a cheap accountant because then you're going to get rubbish results and cheap results.
Yeah.
And you're going to have higher tax bills. But you must have a property related accountant, I would say, because for instance, if you run like a rent to rent business and a buy to let business, they're categorized differently because one's an asset, one's not an asset. And things like that, and they're taxed differently and they're set up differently. So
find a good accountant, get some advice. Do I set up a limited company? Do I not? If you decide that limited company is the way to go, would you get your accountant to set it up, or would you do it yourself?
No, can I tell you how I set my business up?
Yeah.
Right. This is how I done it. This is just from my experience. So I went limited because my accountant advised me to, and I just set the company up on a website called Companies Made Simple. It costs like 35.
That sounds complicated.
It's really, it was. It's like 35 pound. I've just come back from America, that's what I'm saying, bucks. It's like 35
bucks
pound, and they'll set the company up for you. It's very, very simple. Open a bank account, get yourself insurance. As I don't know the exact date, maybe Nick can find out this and put it in the comments or put it below. But all landlords need to be a member of the PRS system soon. They have to be a part of the property redress scheme. Did you know that?
All landlords do.
Yep. It's coming in soon. I don't know the exact date, but it is coming in very, very soon. So you might not have to do it today, but certainly in the next 6 months, we have to be a member of the PRS scheme as a reputable landlord. And also make sure you've got suitable insurance, because obviously if one of your tenants, if something goes wrong, you've got to understand that you're responsible for your tenants.
Yeah.
So
again, it comes back to being a business.
It's a business.
It's a business. You need the right insurance. You need to be in the right. I would also highly recommend being in something like the RLA.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Or the NLA.
I was going to say, what's the RLA?
The Residential Landlord Association.
And the NLA is National Landlord Association.
Yeah, they're kind of the same. But you're in the NLA, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
I'm in the RLA.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why. Don't know why I picked that one.
It doesn't matter.
But they're really
good. I would definitely do that. But do you know why I think people don't set their business up properly in the first place? Because they're not making much money from property. Like some people, they go out and they buy a buy-to-let, and they might say it's the mortgage is £200-300 a month, and the rent is £600. They're only making £300 a month, so they do everything a little bit incorrectly.
Yeah.
So that because they're not making much profit from it, they then skimp and save on things like insurances and things like that. And then before you know it, they've become a rogue landlord, and they're letting the whole side down. So just do it properly from the beginning. It's going to cost you a bit of money, but at the end of the day, to set any business up costs money. If you're trying to do it with to cut corners, then just
so you were taking us through the steps. So first of all, if we go through steps,
okay,
we're going to get a good accountant. Find out set up your limited company.
Company
if you
structure.
Got a limited company.
Yeah.
Company structure. What do you mean?
Limited, sole trader, however you're doing it. Insurances, NLA, RLA.
So what insurances would you recommend them getting?
Landlord's insurance, all your insurances you need for your business. You probably need public liability, because obviously you've got people staying in your property, and also like property redress scheme. You'll have to be property redressed. I don't, like I say, Nick can put the date down, but that's not effective yet, but it's coming very soon. Okay. And it's just to get rid of all these. It's so your landlord, your tenants have got somewhere to complain if something goes wrong.
Yeah. It's also worth having an accountant to make sure that you put your tax return, because you've got to, you've got to be putting everything through the books.
Irrespective of what, if it's a business at the end of the day. It doesn't matter if just so happens that our product is a house, and This. But like for instance, you could set up a car. It's no different to setting up like a car sales business. You still set the business up correctly.
And if you're going to treat it as a business, you need to be thinking through things like your cash flow, your goals.
Yeah.
What is it you're wanting to achieve? I mean, we talk about lots of different strategies. Rent to rents and deal sourcing, all that sorts of stuff. So, okay, what is it? Why are you getting into property in the first place? What's your goals? What are you wanting to achieve? How much money are you wanting to make? You need to know all this stuff so that you can then try and achieve it and set your goals. Work out what actions you need to take in order to hit those goals. Educate yourself. Get booked on things like the crash course.
Training, crazy. Yeah, it amazes me how many people go into property with very little training.
Yeah, you'd never go into a normal profession.
You wouldn't, would you?
Oh, I want to become a doctor. Yeah. I watched a video on YouTube once about it, so I'm pretty sure I can do the surgery.
No, I used to see this in my old industry in engineering background, and people would just come in after watching a couple of videos, and they've fixed their mate's fucking car or van or whatever, and then suddenly they're an engineer. No, it's rubbish. You need to get trained, you need to know what you're doing, and you need to budget accordingly. So things go wrong in houses all the time. I don't think I've had a month in one of my properties now I can't remember the last time I didn't have anything go wrong in one of my houses. So like the one in Wolverhampton, for the last 3 months there's been some sort of maintenance issue, and you've got to budget for that. You've got to have the funds available for that. So when you get your rent, don't spend it. Put it in a business account, just leave it, and build it up. And then when you get to a certain amount, you take some money out. But don't just spend it every time it comes in, because like for instance, my gas bill at my current property, the HMO got around the corner, the gas bill was really ridiculously expensive. It's like £300 a month, which is just stupid. Oh, somebody's at the door.
Should we let them in?
No.
All right, okay.
And because of that, it's because it had an old-fashioned like heating control system. So the tenants kept putting everything on constant. So the gas was on constantly, like the heating was on constantly. So we last month it cost like £300 to get like a digitally controlled sort of heating system put in.
You're not one of those landlords that controls the heating from your own phone.
No, I don't. I don't have nothing to do with it. My management company does.
But they control the heating for the tenants?
They set it and they leave it.
Oh, really?
Yes, mate. 100%. I'm not paying. Listen, my tenants they've got a warm house. They've got lots of hot water. But I'm not gonna. What is the point in the hot water being on when they're not there? Just so when.
How do you know if they're there or not?
I don't care. They're not having it all day.
Are you serious?
100%.
So they've got to live in your house and you control when they're allowed hot water?
That is very standard.
Yeah.
You speak to any management company, they'll say the same. Every HMO management company I've spoke to, they've all said, why have you not got a nest, or why have you not got a hive in there? And I'm like, well, yeah, fine, do it. What do you recommend? So they've done it. They don't control it. They just set it so that they can't go above a certain temperature.
Okay.
What was happening? 23 degrees, I think it is.
Oh, that's fair.
So what was happening was,
do you know? Do you know why I'm asking? Because we've had landlords, obviously with Quick Move, who would insist on they would do things like lock the thermostat.
Yeah.
So they'd set the thermostat to 19, and then they'd lock the cupboard or whatever
so
it was
in. There,
so they couldn't change it. And it's just like, but like, they are living there. If they're cold, like I would hate that.
Yeah, no.
I know I pay my own bill, so it's different. But I want to be able, if I want to turn the temperature up or turn the temperature down, I want to be able to turn it up or I want to turn it down.
So let me just clarify. My property is immaculate. The heating, whenever you go in, there's warm. But what was happening was I was going to the property, and my manager was going to the property, and the heating was cranked up to like 27, 28 degrees with the windows open. All the bedroom windows were open, so that they're just heating. They're just putting it on for the sake of it. They don't need to put it on, and it's got a electric shower.
There's a balance, isn't there? Because at the same time, I sometimes like to have the window open because I want a bit of fresh air to come in.
Yeah, I get that, but when I'm paying £300 a month just for gas, it's not happening. It's not happening. That didn't include electric. That's just for gas. That's a lot for HMO.
Yeah.
So anyway, we've sorted that out. So now the heating's good. But
Alistair's there on his phone.
Oh, I'm not. No.
18 degrees. They won't die if it's 14.
No, let's just turn it down.
Let's turn it down.
Not at all.
Save me 10 quid. Who cares if they freeze to not death? That would be bad, but freeze.
Not at all, man. Just give him an extra blanket. No, seriously, I'm not a bad landlord. I'm a freaking awesome landlord.
It sounds it.
I am, mate.
It
I
sounds-
absolutely am.
I don't. I think that a tenant should have the right to be able to have the temperature at the temperature that they want it to be,
Okay.
to save a couple of quid.
But it's not a couple of quid, Ross. It's not. I know so many HMO landlords, right, that have got the temperature on hives so they can control it.
I know.
But it's because what will happen is this is what happens when you.
The only argument you've got with it being a HMO,
yeah.
the only and it is that like there's 4 people or whatever living there,
Mm-hmm.
so someone's got to decide what temperature it is because they can't all have it at the temperature they want.
Yeah.
So you can pick a fair temperature so that everyone's happy.
Well, they all have temperature controls in their bedroom and the radiators, right? So the
I've known landlords. They're like someone bought a washing machine. Right, at a HMO, there wasn't a washing machine there. They bought a was it a dryer? It was a dryer.
Right.
They bought a dryer,
Yeah.
and they were like, "No, they're not allowed to have a dryer there. Electricity."
yeah, I don't care about that.
And it's like, really? I googled it, and a dryer. It's like if they used it every day, it'd be like 20 quid a month or something.
Yeah, no, it's not.
And
it's
like,
not.
guys,
it's not
get a grip.
Get a grip. Yeah, no, I get that.
The tightness of some landlords. Now I know you're Scottish, so
No, it's got nothing to do with it. You're making me out to be a tight landlord. I'm not.
I'm not making you out. You're making you out.
No, not at all. Not at all. Right. Yeah. Okay. My HMO manager, and this is true. I use a company called Rooms to Let. Okay, in Wolverhampton, they've told me many times I'm the best landlord they've got because I don't ever question any maintenance.
You're the best landlord they've got.
Best landlord they've got is what they've told me.
How many landlords they got?
2. No, they've got like I don't know, but they've got a lot. They look after a lot of rooms, and they've told me that I'm the best landlord they've got because whenever they ring me and say there's a maintenance issue or they need this, they need that, I just say sort it out.
Yeah. I'm not necessarily saying
mess about.
saying that you're tight. Hold on, I am. So I don't know where I'm going with this.
Neither do I.
I was. No, I'm not necessarily saying that you're tight. I'm just saying that the amount of tight landlords, I'm just like, guys, get a grip. But maybe in your case, maybe that they had the temperature at 30 and the windows
it's just
open.
they're putting the temp. It's just that's what it is. But I know so many landlords that they do this, and yeah. Anyway,
I just think that some of the landlords. I'm not saying that you're like this, but some of the landlords are way overly controlling of the temperature.
Of course they are,
and the stuff that they use. And it's like, guys, I mean, if I was
want them
living
to
in
feel like
somewhere,
it's their home.
I want to feel like it's my home. I don't want to feel like, even if I was at a hotel though, I want the option to turn the heating up or turn the heating down or have a shower.
It's got an electric shower that gets hot instantly. So the shower is not doesn't matter about the hot water.
It's not so bad.
But
I want hot water on all the time.
Yeah,
I never want to go and wash my hands in cold water.
There is holes. Do you understand how the heating systems work?
Yeah.
No, you don't. You clearly don't.
I do, because basically what you're saying is you want to turn it off. So if someone has a bath, for example, the hot water will run
But
out.
there's hot water tanks.
So will the hot water run out? Yes or no?
It will eventually run out if they run the water, if they like drain the systems out, and they just.
I would never want that to happen. I went to, in fact, do you know the Oxford property?
Yeah.
Right. It pissed me off when I was there.
Why?
Well, cause
Is it you that's turned the heating on, Phil, over there? Was it you that switched the immersion heater on?
Probably. Yes. Yeah, because the bath. I wanted a bath, and it ran out of hot water. I put in about that much hot water. I was like, oh, great. And I didn't realise, so I left the hot tap on.
And it was freezing.
And it was freezing. And I was like, great. So, yeah. So I did, and I waited, and then I had one later. Am I unreasonable here, or is it fair that if I'm living there, I want to be able to have a bath when I want a bath?
Yeah.
I want to be able to turn the heating up when I want to turn the heating up.
I
want to be able to open the window when I want to open the window. I just want to live in my house.
I don't disagree with you.
Good.
Do you, the bath at Oxford, do you not think it was very small?
Yeah, it was crap.
It's about that size, isn't it? It's tiny.
I just fit in it nicely. Did you struggle?
No, I'm fine, but you're taller than me.
Oh, right. Taller, yes, taller.
Oh, you're such a twat. Right. Do you know, I've not missed this.
But I don't know.
Being away for 2 weeks has been fun. All right, okay, let's move on.
Okay, so but it's a business. You got to control expenses.
So control your spending. Also, budget. So don't spend your money Because believe me, when you've spent all that money, the boiler will break, or the door will break, or something will happen.
But again, it's like any business. When you start a business, you have a business bank account. You want to build money up in the account before you start taking a wage or anything out of it. Now, the alternative to running it as a business is because we talked a few weeks ago about the difference between a property entrepreneur and a property investor. The difference would be if you wanted to just ad hoc invest, you could treat it like a hobby. Yeah, you could be like, okay, well, I've got 40 grand available. I'm going to buy a house, let a management agent run it. I'm not going to treat it like a business, but I'm just going to own a few houses, and that's fine as well. Yeah, but it is fine. It depends on what they want.
Not really. Well, but they're just going to own a few properties, but they've still got to treat it like a business because things will still go wrong in that property. Yeah, they've got.
Well, it depends. Depends on their personal situation. They might be someone that's got 50 grand. They don't want to treat it like a business.
If they've got loads of money in the bank, that's fine. But
they just want to buy a few investment properties and keep it simple and let the agent look after it.
But ultimately, it doesn't matter if they've got a load of money. Well, I suppose if they've got millions in the bank, it's not going to be like them changing the boiler's not going to be an issue.
Well, if you've got thousands in the bank, changing a boiler's not going to be that much of an issue.
No, but
you'd have to have millions to.
How many people do we meet on a day-to-day basis that are doing this with very little money?
Yeah, because
most of our listeners are going to be doing this with not a lot of money in the bank.
Most people that we meet are trying to get into property with very little money.
Exactly.
Right. So they need to run it as a business.
They need to run it properly.
My point is, if there's someone listening to this who's got 100 grand in the bank that's just thinking, do you know what?
I don't care.
I'm work full time. I haven't got time to run it as a business. You can do it as a hobby. Yeah. It's not as effective.
Yeah, if you've got the money. Yeah.
But if you've got money, it is another option.
Of course it is.
All right, cool, awesome. So hopefully you guys have found that pretty helpful with the basic steps that you need. And the main point that I took from all that is that Alistair is a tight landlord. So I hope you got that as well.
You are such a douchebag. I'm not tight landlord.
I'm not going back to the hotel until I speak to someone who's prepared to give me that house, man. This is why I hate agents. What am I supposed to do? Confirm with them every 15 minutes. What's that? Okay. Do you want to come?
No. Take it back upstairs. We're not anywhere.
None of your business, sir.
But do you know how much rent he pays?
I don't know.
Thanks for nothing.
It's dark, it's late, we're in the hood.
So, big question. Is it possible to buy a house with no money in a week? Now, the reason that we're asking this question is because I'm sure many of you will have seen the first 2 parts of Samuel's documentary. Basically, the challenge is he had to go to a random city, turn up at an airport, go to a random city, foreign country, and buy a house with no money. And he'd given himself a week to do it. He ended up going to
America, New York,
which I think must be one of the worst places to go to try and buy a house with no money.
Yeah, it's New York. It's like going into London. It's crazy. The problem is everywhere in America, everywhere in New York, is going up.
Yeah,
like there's properties that were like last year 200,000 or 300,000 and now 600,000. It's crazy.
Yeah,
honestly. We met quite a few investors. And we met an investor in a phone shop. We had to go and buy some, get some American phones because SIM cards, and because we didn't have any, we couldn't use our UK SIM cards out there. And it just turns out that the guy behind, we got chatting to him, and he's an investor, and he actually does a strategy called buy and flip. He flips them. He doesn't rent out. He doesn't want tenants, and he's making a killing. He really is.
Because the house prices are rising.
They're just rising so fast, and he buys in Staten Island and New Jersey.
Yeah,
it's really interesting.
Really cool. Really interesting. When Simon told me about the challenge, he was like, I thought the idea was he had to do a deal. So whether it be flip a deal, like you just said, or a deal source, or something. He's like, no, actually, the challenge is I actually want to buy a house with no money.
He did bite off. I think he did bite off a.
It's a massive challenge.
Yeah, it's a big challenge.
It would be a massive challenge here.
Yeah,
but to do it in a city, and if you haven't watched the documentary so far, I mean, I don't know the end result.
Nope.
And people don't believe me when I say that. Like, yeah, they seriously won't tell me. I thought they would. I was like, how's it going, bro? He's like, you have to watch the documentary. I was like, yeah, what? He's like, no.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone knowing. I don't want it going out.
Sworn to secrecy. Not telling anybody.
So, but it's very, very interesting seeing him having to work so hard to put into practice all the strategies that obviously work, but can they work in New York or in America, and can they work within a week?
Did you see the first document, the very first one we done? It's when we were in the cab. We went to a networking event.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Well, you were on the phone to me.
Oh yeah, we were. We did phone you,
You
didn't
phoned
we?
me.
Yeah.
And they didn't tell me. I only realised that conversation had been filmed and put on YouTube when I saw it on YouTube that
Oh,
night.
did you? Did
Yeah,
you
he didn't say, by the way, just so you're aware, I'm filming this conversation. It was just put on YouTube. I
It
like,
was funny.
thanks for telling me, guys. Thanks for that.
We found a networking event, and it took us an hour and a half, 2 hours to get there.
Yeah.
And we got there. We sat in a room, and there was about 8 people in there to begin with. So we thought, okay, it's a small networking event, that's fine. And then the speaker...
Was that 8 including you two?
Yeah. So there was... Yeah, the 8 including us, and then 2 speakers. So there was...
So it was 4 people.
No. There was 8,
And
including
2
me,
speakers, so
and
it's
then
10.
plus there was 10
Oh,
people in
yeah.
total. And then the guy introduced himself, started speaking. He asked what, like, we were like random to them, so he asked why we were there and who we were. So we told that, and then he literally said, "Look, everyone that's here for the private sort of a training session, if you can just leave, go into the room next door, and we'll crack on with that, and we'll crack on with the networking event." So we like just sat there. And then all of a sudden, it was just me and Samuel left. There was literally nobody else there. It was
So you went to a networking event
crazy.
with just the 2 of you?
And then the guy hosting it, he spoke for like 45 minutes
Do you know-
to just me and Samuel.
Can you imagine? Like, I can't imagine a worse crowd.
No,
If I turned up at a networking event and it was just, I mean, obviously it'd be different for me because I know you guys really well. But if a speaker turned up and it was you and Samuel and that was his crowd, was he like awesome or was he nervous?
No, I think he started off being a bit like he's the man. Do you know what I mean? I think he's the man. I think and amongst the networking that's people that are there, I think he's the
So he
one.
didn't know who you guys were.
He didn't know. No, he didn't know that
Okay.
we're killing. Like we're doing really well in the UK, but. Him at that networking event, he's probably like the Dawn. He's probably the one that's doing all the deals and all that sort of stuff. Because nobody else had actually done many deals like there, or they'd not actually got any property or anything like that. And then about 5 minutes into the networking event, he sort of just happened to say, "Oh look, what do you guys do?" Like, so we told him very in a cut down version what we do. We didn't like Samuel didn't go, "Oh yeah, I've got this castle, and I've got that, and I've got that." But he said, "Well, how many flips have you done?" So then like Samuel looked at me and 300 because obviously I've done like 60 and Simon's done a lot, and he went oh it was very awkward, and it was funny, it was hilarious.
Did he go, "Do you guys want to do the presentation?"
But the thing is, he didn't at that point you would think he would realise that if or what he's teaching us, he would just sort of
Stop.
stop and just have a chat. But no, he didn't. He went through his slides, and it was all like, "Do you know what financial freedom is?" Yeah. "Do you know that if you put money in the bank, it shrinks?" Yeah. do you know, have you heard of Robert Kiyosaki? Have you seen this EBIS? And we're like, "Yeah, we had dinner with him last year." And it's like, it was just a little bit awkward.
Dear.
But in fairness, he done well because he probably felt a little bit, I don't want to say intimidated, but he probably felt a little bit like,
Yeah, it's not.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, at least you guys weren't like.
we weren't laughing at him. We weren't taking the mickey out of him. Like we were being polite and listening to
you've
him.
got
So-
to be, haven't you?
Of course we have.
It's
He
hard.
was-
It's a hard
But
situation.
basically, it turned out to be an hour long sort of sales pitch for their online video training course.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for that. Nice way to
It
end.
was it was quite interesting.
But so that's the challenge anyway, and that's. But I definitely would watch it.
Watch it. It's going to be.
I mean, the strategies do work. Whether they can work in New York or in America in a week is another thing. Don't know. It'd be
knows?
very interesting to see.
Who
I
knows?
think it's going to be really difficult, but I don't know.
I think Samuel realised very quickly that
this is hard.
This is hard.
Yeah. Well, I saw his post on Facebook. I've never felt this much rejection in the last
Yeah.
10 years. It's like, wow, it's deep.
And guys, we were hustling.
Yeah.
We were hustling 13, 14 hours a day.
Yeah.
We weren't dossing up.
You were
on a
hustling
holiday.
in the hood.
Hustling in the hood. We weren't
In that shirt.
No, not in this show.
Were you wearing a hoodie? Like Nike Adidas hoodie.
No.
Oh, that's a shame.
What I will say, I've seen more crackheads in the last week than I have in the last year.
And you live in Northampton.
Yeah. Don't get much ice in Northampton, unfortunately. There's ice in it.
I don't know.
What's Breaking Bad? Crystal meth. You don't get much crystal meth. That's ice. Yeah.
Is it ice?
Yeah. Well, that's the
Is that the street name? I'm not very straight.
That's the gangster name.
That's the gangster name.
No, it was, mate. It was brilliant. It was a hustle. It was busy. Didn't get any.
My favorite bit was when you're there and you're like, it's cold, it's dark, we're in the hood.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
No, do you know what that was? We'd been at it a long time. It was getting late. It was getting dark. We were
What? Do you know what I did notice though about that whole section? Someone pointed it out, and I was like, "That's true, actually." You were the one that suggested going and knocking on doors.
Yes, I know.
Right, and then when you're doing it, you're there like going, "Oh, this is stupid." And it's
No. Listen.
Alistair suggest this.
Yeah, that's fine. But we've been doing that all day. Like, I know the video that he's released it only shows 4 or 5 door knocks. We must have knocked in 30, 40 houses.
Yeah.
Honestly, I promise you. And the problem is, we just come from a place where literally we were the only white people, and literally you got people looking out the curtains and things like that, and suddenly hanging around and all sorts of
These
stuff.
undercover British police.
Well, that's probably what they thought.
Yeah,
they probably thought that Samuel was, I don't know, a detective or something, because he was dressed in a suit and.
But in answer to the question, is it possible to buy a house with no money?
Who knows?
It is.
Who knows?
Whether he manages it or not, of course it's possible.
I think it's possible, yeah, but
you've done it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I suppose
You've done it using the lease option agreement.
What I did learn out there, though, do you know what's the average time it takes to complete on a house here?
No, months.
Yeah, up there you can do it in weeks.
Really?
Yeah, you can. So you can buy a property and then you can. So out there you have title companies. You don't have like land registry. You have title companies, and they hold the title to the property, and you just pay them a fee, and they just change. It's like buying a car. They change a logbook. That's all it is. It's very, very simple. It's so much simpler in here.
Wow.
Wow. That's what that side of things.
Are you going to invest in America then?
Who knows?
You interested?
Who knows? Stop asking me questions. I'm not going to tell you that.
I don't mean. I'm not talking about the challenge now. I'm talking about you personally. Later, are you interested in investing in America?
I can't. Yeah, possibly.
Okay. He's very.
I'm sworn to secrecy.
This isn't even secrecy about the challenge. This is just secrecy. I can ask you any
all
question.
All I'll say.
Are you enjoying life? Oh,
who knows?
Secret. Who knows?
All I'll say is there's some people out there making a lot of money
in property. Okay, exciting. It's exciting. I'm really looking forward to watching the rest of the documentary. Don't forget to check it out every Tuesday. Next couple of Tuesday. So it's
I think they're coming out on TV Tuesday.
TV Tuesday. So it should be good. Right, it's now time for this. Okay, so this was recently on BBC News. Interesting subject. Let me read the story first, and then we'll delve into it. So, home leasehold system needs reform, say MPs. So let me explain what this is. So the UK's leasehold system has left a number of households in an unsellable and unmortgageable homes, and changes are needed, MPs say. Often, leaseholders in new build properties are treated as a source of profit. The housing communities and local government says. So it says that the competition and marketing authorities should investigate mis-selling claims. The CMA should also make suggestions regarding compensation, they say. Leasehold house owners are often charged expensive ground rent as well as fees if they want to make changes to their homes. A leasehold house can also be difficult to sell. Developers say that in all transactions, builders aim to provide prospective purchasers and their solicitors and their mortgage lenders with all the relevant information. But the HCLG committee said stories from leaseholders showed failings in the process. Okay, there's more, but basically, I mean, I think I've talked to you about this personally, but it's like with companies where they'll build a big they'll build a housing estate or whatever, they'll do it as leasehold. The ground rent's low to begin with, and then suddenly bang, they up it to something ridiculous, and they trap people in. Suddenly they can't sell the property because the ground rent is ridiculous.
What's the typical ground rent in the UK? I know they vary everywhere, but in the UK typically what is it? Do you know roughly? It's not generally a lot, is it? And when I say it's not a lot, but you're talking maybe a couple £100 a year, aren't you? Really?
What I have noticed is in Birmingham, in particular,
it's higher.
It's gone up a lot.
So, do you know? Have you got any figures
in Birmingham City? Do you want me to? Shall I Google it?
Yeah, should we have a look just so
average
we've got an idea?
Ground rent.
Because I'm then going to tell you what the figures are out in America, because it shocked us. I'm just curious.
Average ground rent UK. Okay.
Because I know properties that are like the ground rent's like £25, £28 a year or something.
£350 to £400 per annum.
Yeah.
Especially in London. And average new leases range from 150 to 300. I think
a year.
Yeah, I've got a few. They're not. I can't remember the exact figures. They're not majorly high. And you expect to pay something because they do work.
So like for instance, in Liverpool it'll be cheaper than it is in Birmingham. So we've just sold a property, a HMO up in Liverpool, and the ground rent was £28 a year, £28 a year for the ground rent.
It's nothing, is it?
It's peanuts. For instance, when we were in the States on Samuel's Challenge, we looked at a couple of properties. The ground rent was $600 a month.
Wow.
A month, mate.
It's like rent.
It's just crazy. Honestly. And when we asked the agents, what do you get for that? Well, they mow the lawn and they cover things like the communal areas in the building and things like that. It's a lot. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Well, I think Taylor. I'm just checking it now.
Mm-hmm.
I think Taylor Wimpey were one of the companies. So I don't want to name if I'm wrong. Do you remember who did that? And they got caught up in some. Yeah, here we go. Taylor Wimpey. Most buyers in ground rent scandal will be able to get new deals. Yeah, there was, which is kind of similar to this.
I mean, Taylor Wimpey are phenomenal. Like, they're doing massive developments everywhere, aren't they?
Yeah.
So does that beg the question? Are all the developments they're doing leasehold, or are they doing any freeholds?
I think they're doing a lot of leasehold, but should they be? Because if they're building a new estate,
that is
and
actually
you're buying
a
a
bit wrong,
house,
isn't
it is, isn't it?
Because what will happen is they do all these sort of schemes, don't they, where you can, like, they'll buy your part exchange your old home. They'll give you, if you get 2 valuations, they'll give you the average of that.
See, it makes sense on apartments because you're in a communal building and stuff, but on a new estate,
on a house, no, I think that's wrong.
I think it's wrong.
Because they have essentially got you.
It's greedy developers, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
I think it's greedy developers trying to be.
Especially there must be some sort of control of them putting the rent up without notice. They must have to give notice.
I think it's in the contracts. It's just that people have missed it.
Yeah, or it comes down to mis-selling, because the problem is, you got to imagine, right? You're living in a 2-bed house. I don't know, maybe in a maybe a little bit of a poorer area, and then you get the opportunity to move to a new housing estate where Taylor Wimpey or another company are going to buy your house off you for a market value, and then move in with very little. Like, sometimes they cover your moving costs. They cover all sorts, because they're more interested in selling a new property than an old one.
Yeah.
And they can afford to take a little bit of hit on the old one. But my point being is, if you're then you're a motivated buyer. You're in a position where you're an emotionally
people are in a
attached.
situation with these houses where they can't mortgage them or sell them.
Yeah, but you'll find they'll be able to mortgage them through Taylor Wimpey, because Taylor Wimpey have got they can sort out all that mortgages and stuff. So they'll be mortgaging them through the company, but then they can't remortgage them at a later date.
Yeah. I think it's good that the MPs
are stepping in.
So
don't know exactly what the ins and outs of it, but yeah, I think it's very good.
Yeah.
Leasehold should not be around on houses.
No, I agree.
Flats, apartments, yeah, but not houses.
Yeah, but if anyone's got any comments on that, if anyone's in a situation where they've bought a leasehold house or they know a bit more about it, it'd be lovely to hear your comments. Maybe something we can address on a later show. But
I think that'd be really good.
Interesting news article. And be aware of that. If you're buying a house, be aware. Is it, if it's leasehold? Because if it's an investment property, you could be screwed as well.
Oh, crazy! Yeah. I think just quickly, it does come down to just taking your emotions out of things a little bit when you're buying. I know it's an emotional purchase when you're buying a home, but sometimes take your emotions out of it and read the contracts properly.
Yeah,
and read all the stipulations and everything regarding leasehold payments.
I agree. Awesome. Right, it's now time to answer your questions. So we got a question from Darren. Any advice on the steps you take to find your patch to invest in? That's a really good question.
It is, actually.
Thank you, Darren, for that. In fact, you have actually, because we talk about this in detail on the Deal Finding Extravaganza.
Yeah, absolutely do, yeah.
And so do you want to maybe just go through one or two?
Right. Okay, so the patch, your gold mine sort of area, gold mine patch, whatever. It needs to be somewhere where you can buy a property relatively affordable, relatively cheap, that's got the potential to grow in value, and it's got high demand for tenants, whether that be single lets, HMOs, or it does depend on what your strategy is. So let's just go with HMOs, because it's nice and simple. So ideally, it wants to be in a city, a university city, ideally somewhere where there's lots of jobs, lots of buzzing nightlife, lots of things going on, and it has to be where you can buy a property affordably. It's not like ridiculously expensive. You're not talking hundreds of thousands of pounds. You maybe buy a 4-bedroom house for about 100,000, convert it, do whatever you've got to do.
Does it? I suppose it depends a little bit on what your strategy is as well.
It does. I just said that. If you were listening,
I wasn't. I was trying to work out what Darren's surname was.
Also, you need to have a really good understanding of the rules and the regulations in the area.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at HMOs and you're going to looking to convert, there's no point going somewhere where there's Article 4, because you'll have to then get planning permission and all that sort of stuff. So have a good understanding of the rules, have a good understanding of the demand, and have a good understanding of property prices and what's going to happen to the property prices. Now we can't, there's no crystal ball here. We're not going to predict, we can't see in the future. So it's a good guesstimation using your due diligence and research on property prices in the area. So like looking at what's likely to happen in the area.
So for example, HS2,
yeah,
Crew, for example, you go,
Banging.
okay, it's probably going to go up because it's going to be a lot easier to get to London.
Yeah.
It's going to make it more valuable. Birmingham, for example, is
Crazy.
going up.
Manchester.
We talked about a few weeks ago, is
we
going
did,
up.
yeah.
So there's not a crystal ball, but you can know. Another thing that you can look at is development in the area.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So, for example, Walsall at the moment, there's a hell of a lot of development going into Walsall. So it's a much smaller town, but they're building new hotels, they're building new restaurants. I went in the city centre of Walsall for the first time in about 3 years, and last time I went there was so many shops that were empty.
Yeah.
There are still some, but I was like, wow, there's a lot of new shops that have come in. It's looking a bit better than it was.
Yeah, I think you just got to understand what's going on, and if you jump onto like the council pages and things like that, you can see what's planned for the future. So maybe 3-4 years away.
Yeah, Wolverhampton again. They're spending a lot of money on Wolverhampton at the moment. So
and I'll tell you where, like Blackpool. I know people keep criticising it, but Blackpool, there's so much development planned
it's just
there.
So easy.
Easy as in what, to criticise it?
Yeah.
Okay, right, yeah.
It's
but
so
there's
easy and fun to criticise.
It is
Blackpool.
fun, but there's a lot of development planned in Blackpool. There's loads, and there's
Blackpool,
there's hotels going on. I know,
is a crap hole.
I know it's a shithole, but
it is.
Forget that.
I can't forget it. I've been there.
Yeah, I know that. But my point being is, you can buy houses really, really cheap at the minute.
I bet you can.
The problem, the good thing, in 10 years, mate, I'm telling you, they're going to be worth some money because they're spending so much money in Blackpool.
Okay.
Other places such as Lancaster. Lancaster's the same. They're spending an awful lot of money.
I think
the university's getting bigger and bigger.
In a lot of places in the, I think,
a lot of money
in the UK
spent.
in general.
Grimsby, same thing. Loads of money being spent.
Grimsby,
there.
just the name puts me off.
Yeah, it's a bit grim. But there's loads of money being spent there. And
Blackpool.
Another thing
Sounds horrible.
is when you're looking at your patch, look and see where like Costa Coffees are opening and Premier Inns, things like that, where they're moving to the area. Because if they've done
Premier Inn's going there, it must be top.
No. You're not. No, my point being is they've done the research for you. Why you've got a multinational chain, a huge chain of hotels that have done the research on areas. They know the footfall. They know the likelihood of people going to be there. They wouldn't put a hotel where there's no demand.
Yeah. So all interesting stuff, and get to know the area, get to know the power
agents,
team in the area, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, awesome. Great question, Darren.
That was actually a really good question, Darren.
Thank you, Darren. Right, next question. This is off Ben Snooks.
Okay.
Proud of me. Just read it in one go.
Read it in one go, bang.
When agreeing a rent-to-rent agreement, is it best to go direct to vendor, or is it possible to go via the letting agent? As I understand, they may get confused off by your proposal. If you keep going via the letting agents to keep them in the loop, what advice do you... Okay, awesome. Great question.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me tell you the pros and cons of both. So, pros of direct to vendor is it's easier to get in with them and to explain what it is that you're doing, and it's easier for them to understand it and to be good with it. So especially in the early days of doing this, you can go on places like Gumtree and things like that, and you can approach the vendors direct, explain to them what you're going to do, and I find it easier to get them than letting agents. That's the pro. Big pro of a letting agent is once you get one on board, they get properties that keep coming up, and if you can convince them that what you're doing is good and that you'll be a good tenant, so to speak, or someone that will rent the properties off them, it makes their life so easy, because it means that when they get a property come up that they know you'll fit the bill, they haven't even got to put it on the market. They can just come straight to you. So
it's a lot harder to get in with the agent, though.
Yeah.
A lot harder.
I would say to get in with an agent, it's going to take more than just a phone call.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to go meet them.
You're going to have to go meet them. You have to build a relationship with them. If you've got one that does both buying houses and letting, and you can buy a few houses off them and build a bit of a relationship with them, that would obviously help. So I know you're in with, because you deal source.
Yes,
It's very easy for you to get in with agents because you're buying stuff all the time.
You're always connecting agents and investors. And I get so many agents just call me. Like, they've got this, do I want it? They've got this, have I got somebody for it?
It's one of the things we go through on the deal finding extravaganza is, and I make live calls to these people.
You do, actually.
Yeah,
I think I love that.
Do you know,
because it makes you really vulnerable. Do
you know I've got 100% success rate at the DF so far?
Have you really?
Everyone how
many times have you done it?
Twice.
Okay, that's good.
But still, 100% success rate. Yeah, twice, but I've sealed a rent-to-rent deal over the phone twice in a row.
Well, from stage.
Yeah,
I've always listened to the calls, and they are very good. Like I remember last time that somebody hung up on you at some point, didn't they? Or was that not? Or was that maybe that was at a different event?
That was at DFA. I've got 100% success rate. What I have had, I've had people answer. And say things like, "Oh, it's not available anymore."
Yeah.
I'm not counting that. I'm counting once
you've actually got past
it's available. They're happy to speak to me, and then I've pitched them on it. 100% success rate.
That's really good. Yeah. That's really good. What I will say, though, do you know in the States, right? The property websites.
Come back from the States or something? He hasn't mentioned the States today. I've not mentioned on this show.
Right. Okay. So the property websites like Zillow. That's like
where's this? Sorry again.
In the States.
Oh, in the States?
Yeah,
you come back from the States? You've been to the States?
Just come back from the States. Did you not know that?
Did you not mention the States?
Anyway.
It wasn't New York, was it?
No, it wasn't actually. Right, this is somewhere else. But
Zillow
is the equivalent to Rightmove.
I thought there was no equivalent to Rightmove. That's what you told me on the phone.
We found it in the end.
Oh, it was Zillow.
Everyone criticised. Do you know, everyone criticised that we didn't know, like, Zillow and the...
Never heard of Zillow?
Well, we never heard of it. Like,
seriously, you never heard of Zillow?
Why would we? Did you?
I've heard of Zillow.
What, before we went to America?
Nah.
Exactly. So why the hell would we know? Like, it was a random country that we knew nothing about. If we knew about it, then it wouldn't be... No, come on, get real, guys. Anyway, so Zillow, the good thing about it
Where's Zillow based?
Oh, for goodness me. It puts the property owner's phone number on there. You have to put the property owner's phone number.
You told me.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
How is that related to his question?
Because then you can look on...
Zillow.
If you're in America, you could look on Zillow and phone the owner direct.
Wow.
Talking just direct to vendor leads, that's all.
So guys, thanks ever so much for tuning in this week. Do not forget to hit the subscribe button. You can also listen to us if you're on the move. We're on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all sorts of places like that if you want to just listen in. And we will see you next week.